Are you struggling with using custom fonts in your React Native app with Expo? You're not alone. Many developers face this challenge, especially when it comes to live reloading. Today, we're going to explore how to effectively load custom fonts without causing performance issues. I totally get it. It can be frustrating when you want to use custom fonts, but the process seems complicated. You might be wondering if loading the font multiple times will slow down your app. Trust me, this is a common concern among developers. Here's the specific situation we're addressing. One user asked if they need to load custom fonts in every component when using Expo. They were concerned about unnecessary calls and wanted to know if there's a way to set the font globally or pass it down through props. Sound familiar? Let's dive into the details. So, what's the deal with loading custom fonts? When you load a font asynchronously, it can indeed lead to performance issues if done repeatedly across components. The good news is that once a font is loaded, it is cached, which can help mitigate some of those concerns. But let's explore how to load it efficiently. And stick around. I have a great tip at the end that will help you manage fonts in your app like a pro. To address the user's concern about loading custom fonts in Expo, the first step is to load the fonts asynchronously in the top-level component of the application. This ensures that the fonts are available before the app renders any text. Next, the user should call this load fonts function within the component's lifecycle method, such as component didMount, or using the useEffect hook in functional components. This ensures the fonts are loaded when the component mounts. After loading the fonts, the user can set the loaded font as a global style using React's Context API or by using a custom font provider. This way, the font can be accessed throughout the application without needing to load it multiple times. Regarding performance, loading the custom font multiple times can lead to unnecessary calls, but Expo caches the fonts after the first load. Therefore, while it may not cause significant performance issues, it's best practice to load it once. Lastly, this issue is specific to Expo and how it handles font loading. It is not a limitation of Create React Native app or related to live or hot reloading. Understanding this will help the user manage fonts effectively in their Expo projects. Fun fact, did you know that the first fonts were created in the 15th century? They were hand-carved and took hours to produce. Thankfully, we have it much easier today. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach suggests loading your custom font in the root component of your app. Once the font is loaded, you can update the global state to indicate that the font is ready. This method helps avoid unnecessary font loading in multiple components, improving performance. It allows you to manage font loading efficiently across your application. That's all for that response. Let's see what someone else had to say. An alternative approach shared by another user highlights the importance of loading custom fonts correctly to avoid system font errors. They recommend using font.loadAsync in the component didMount lifecycle method to ensure the font is loaded before rendering the app. Once the font is loaded, the user suggests checking if assets loaded is true before rendering your components. This prevents any flashing text as the font loads. For more detailed guidance, the user provides a link to a resource that explains how to add custom fonts to React Native using Expo. Let's move forward and look at another answer. One alternative approach involves using the useFonts hook from the @Expo Google Fonts package. First, install the font package, for example, Tajawal. In your app.js, load the fonts using useFonts. If the fonts are not loaded yet, return app loading. Once loaded, you can use Tajawal font family in your components as a normal font family style. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always load your primary fonts before displaying your app. This prevents any text flashing and ensures a smooth user experience. And there you have it. You should now be able to use custom fonts in your React Native app without any performance hiccups. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tricks.